نكبر نكبر وتكبر فينا القساوة، قلبي على ولدي وعلى والدي وعلى بابنا القبلي والحلم العتيق. فمتى يا صديق ترق القلوب التي في صدورنا مهما كبرنا ومهما قست علينا القلوب.
Thank you. Johan?
Sure, just a minute. I'm sorry we can keep you for a minute. Okay. שתי נשים. תמיד לאיש שתי נשים. אחת אהובה ואחת שנואה. אחת ראשונה ואחת נערה. אחת מביאה בן ואחת לוקחת אותו מאביו. לאחת הימים, לשנייה חדרים. האחת בוכה תמיד את אביה ואת אמה, והאחרת תולה עצמה על חזהו.
Well, it was very beautiful in both languages. What was that about?
Mine was about two wives. That's the name of the poem.
Two wives.
Yes, that's very provocative.
Yes.
That always a man has two wives, and what each one is doing to him and to their life. But if you go deeply to the poem, you can easily understand it that it's one wife with functions towards him of two wives. One wishes him to be more close to his children, and one wants to feel that it's her children. One wants to be very dependent, and one wants to be, the ruling one, and the relations with their parents and so on. So everybody can understand it in some places and eras. Everybody can understand it of real two wives. And in the deeper point, I think it's one wife with more complex understanding.
My poem is about like that. We grow up, and difficulties grow up also in our hearts. And my mercy on my sons and my parents, and my window, and my dream. So when, friend, our hearts will be more delicate, more light, even we grow up, even those who have who have to be cruel on us. So when?
Do you have anything newer to present to the festival this evening?
I have, excuse me?
A newer poem to present to the festival this evening?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I have. Well, it's not here. I'm sorry, but I have some, but not so new.
No, okay.
Not so new.
What about you, Miriam? Do you have something new to present?
If you want, there is here translated to Danish.
Okay.
So you want to read it, or somebody? I can't read it in Danish. Huh?
No, well, I can do. I'll take a snapshot of it in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I give you an.
Yeah. Okay, do that.
Yes.
But you have a book published recently.
Yes, a novel.
Yes.
The name of the book is The Pregnancy of Eliza, or Eliza with Child,
yes.
Which is about 38 women, 38-old woman in Tel Aviv, still not married, and she has a shop in King George Street in Tel Aviv, one of the more lively but not very modern streets of Tel Aviv, and she wishes to have a child, and she organized it, and suddenly, after the start of her pregnancy, a man came to her shop. He's a lecturer in some university, and she fell in love with him. So she's pregnant from another one, and she falls in love with this guy. And you have very, very, I hope, interesting and delicate matters from this point. He is involved in some crime, criminal thing, and her parents live in an old age house, which is now very popular in Israel, a golden age house, they call it. My late father used to say, I don't see the gold, but and suddenly this golden age house becomes the center of all the events, and even the marriage between the new couple is being there and everything. And I think through this book you have very basic and essential questions about what is family, the limit of family, what can be called family, how a very honest and respectable man can fail and go into criminal life. I mean, not a murder, but doing a certain thing because he is under pressure the limits. Many times in my writing, I judge the limits with craziness, the limits with mercy, the limits with family, and this book also reflects this question of limits. And now it's translated to English, and I hope to please God to find the right publisher of it. And the last thing that came in Israel just this day, I brought it now here, is a disc composed by a very well-known composer in Israel of my poetry, dealing with the question of hours. I felt that it's very strange that the hours of the day do not have names. You say 4, 5, 6. And we don't respect them. We don't give names. So I gave names to the 24 hours of the day, and he composed it, and it's being sang here by a group of girls from Jerusalem, and I'm very excited about it. I hope it will be accepted nicely.
Do you have anything like that? You have nothing like that, would you?
No, I'm sorry. I thought that I'll have it from the computer, from the internet, but I'm sorry. For the moment, I don't have it, but I have many new things. I have 2 books for last month. Was published, one in Egypt, in Cairo, and the other was published in Israel. It's a collection of all my poems. Some, not all of them, but collection of them. This is
beautiful.
In Arabic, was published in Egypt, and the advertising is the Ahram, which is very great, and this is in Hebrew, was published in Israel's collection of my poems from 73 till now.
Is it, there's a difference, complete difference in the covers here.
Yeah.
Is this typical?
Yes, this is very typical to publishing in the Arab world. I think it's a point of advertising, I think, In Hebrew, we have a style which is very
low key.
Very light, and which is typical to poetry.
But you look so intellectual there in the Egyptian edition.
They made all of this.
No. It's very respectable. It's very respectable.
So a multi-language publishing venture of poetry like this must in reality be what Simon Peres was talking about in March when he said that a literary panel discussion then is about continuing with cultural initiatives. Renewal and peace can only happen with culture, education, literature. Do you agree?
I agree that without it there will not be peace. I mean, as long as education will be based on hatred and differences and so on, I mean, politicians cannot change it alone, even though I must admit that leaders are essential. You see the change that has been in Europe, and I don't compare it, but without Gorbachev from one side and Lech Walesa from the other side, it wouldn't be changed. So also in our area, we need these leaders like this, but a total change in education. I mean, for example, it reflects everybody. I'm sure that also in Israel we have to change things, but very basic things. If we have maps in Arab countries that Israel do not appear, it doesn't matter what the border is, but Israel doesn't appear. I mean, so what sort of peace you can have afterwards? If generation after generation see maps without Israel. So very basic things like this should be changed. And the poetry, if it's not the change itself, it can be the vector. It can be the machine that the souls will be more open, that we will see that things are not only, statistics and so on, but a human being, very basic and fundamental questions, and how much we resemble each other. And I think this in this poetry can be very essential, very relevant.
Yes, I think that, for example, take the Renaissance in Europe and the Middle Ages. It was the great cultural revolution in the world, which changed all over the world. First of all, we have to change the mind to make them more liberal. Culture can make human, more liberal. We have to have a revolution, cultural revolution in the Arab world, in the Muslim world, because we are very afraid of fundamentalism, which may take us back for centuries. So I think that there are many Arab intellectuals now who are afraid of that, who are panic of that. I think that what we need now is revolution, cultural revolution to change mind and to make human and nations have their achievement, scientific achievement and cultural achievement. We need that now immediately.
Naim Areli and Bjørn Eriksen, thank you much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Michael de Laine for the Copenhagen Voice.